It's a service that monitors audience experience with an analytics engine that identifies ways to improve engagement, progression, and contribution to sales funnel. It's designed to help marketing organizations that aim to contribute to revenue generation, but frankly find it tricky to identify steps and prioritize activities most likely to deliver the improvement they're looking for. What does it do? It tracks live campaigns. That's one of the key differences, and experiences them in just the same way a client's customers and prospects experience them. It identifies ways in which content and campaign activity can be tuned and ranks improvement tactics by revenue and sales funnel impact. The secret sauce. Well, to answer that, we look at the way things may have been done before. Now, attracting more potential buyers, improved engagement and increased velocity through a buying cycle that results in larger, more meaningful contribution to sales remains the holy grail for lots of marketing leaders. And historically in its pursuit, they've tracked statistics from their marketing systems, clicks, downloads, followers, inquiries, MQLs, conversion to AQL, and sales opportunities, all of this stuff. And that all makes sense. The stats can indicate areas of success and where problems exist, and for example, whether campaign A outperformed campaign B. But the issue, as we see it, is they don't tell you the why. In other words, what's causing relative success and failure. So solutions to problems and replication of success, can remain rather obscure. Now, the stats from CRM and automation platforms reflect outcomes, but don't provide insight to cause, as I've just said. And in a similar way, inspection of symptoms of an infection might not betray its source, but medical science tells us that common behavior and experience of those with the same condition can help expose source of infection. And this approach, this informs the design concept of MX Monitor, of root cause identification through inspection of experience rather than staring at outcome statistics. It measures audience experience across a large number of attributes known to affect sales progression. And so the observational data that we gather adds to an understanding of marketing stats. And funnel attrition or loss of audience is mapped to moments of their experience. We identify corrective actions and the related potential upside can be calculated. Now, this can transform information available from a measure of outcome with no attribution to cause to a list of corrective actions ranked by the upside. And the ranking enables organizations to prioritize in order to achieve a desired balance of quick wins and long-term gain appropriate to their situation and the resource constraints that they face. So it provides pragmatic steps towards best practice rather than just holding up it as a shiny position that's difficult to move towards. In its design, we reminded ourselves that marketing only exists as a commercial function because of its ability to influence choices, the choices that people make. People respond positively to professional, relevant, engaging, timely, and compelling content. So at the heart of MX Monitor is an assessment of quality of content and, importantly, the way it's experienced. So our approach is informed by the findings of behavioral science, recognition of the importance of the way information is presented, so-called choice architecture, and the importance of both rational analysis and subconscious bias in influencing that choice. Most QA processes focus on static content at the desk of the author and don't extend far into the diverse context of their audience members at the point of receipt. So every organization typically takes care in authoring content, and most then have a review process against some sort of standard or template. The trouble is that the checkers, the people doing that review, are often the same folk that wrote it or colleagues with a very similar perspective. And that's a bit like making air traffic control at a departing airport responsible for safe landings somewhere else. The checkers fail through lack of objectivity in marking their own homework, and they also judge it with an inherited knowledge and bias of an author and as a relative expert or advocate of the product or service. Now that's quite distinct perspective from a potential customer, and it can be why product or service features of which an organisation is very proud or seeks to differentiate itself are promoted, while in truth are of limited interest to a prospect. Now this can result in content that might appeal to a rational comparison of features, but ignores buyer context and the influence of a subconscious instinctive response. Now, a further issue is that your audience doesn't see your stuff in isolation, something that QA processes ignore. They see a stream of content from you and from your competitors, and often from multiple functions inside each, from local marketing, corporate marketing, newsletters, events teams, press releases. Frankly, in complex, large organizations, it can be very challenging to get a holistic view of all the stuff that is sent out, and even more opaque to what's actually received and whether that adds up to a good quality audience experience. Now some organizations try to better understand audience response through buyer reviews and feedback mechanisms. And again, there's a problem here in that there's no pre-existing loyalty or goodwill. Feedback is only motivated where there's a prospect of compensation or some sort of cathartic satisfaction of providing a punishing review when there's been a bad experience. And those that are happy, satisfied or impressed are less likely to respond, resulting in heavily skewed feedback. Ideally, one wants to judge how effective communications are from the perspective of a recipient, just as your audience will see and judge it, and as MX Monitor does. Only when you get line of sight to what you're doing today can you begin to constructively think about how you might improve. Okay, so the ACE question, how does it work? The service embeds what we call avatars, planted, fictitious, but very realistic contacts in marketing contact databases. They have names, job titles, and attributes that associate them to a target segment. And they then receive marketing material just like the rest of a target audience. Now the service tracks all content received and engages with selected aspects such as downloads, sign-ups, opt-outs, etc., and objectively scores the experience against over 40 attributes known to affect sales progression. It identifies QA, quality assurance issues such as grammar, typos, broken links and so on. And it looks at the timing and cadence of communications, use of images, brand consistency, readability, effective localization to industry, language, role, function, cogency of message, and the choice architecture and use of triggers that appeal to subconscious bias of prospective buyers. So a lot is going on. Use of multiple avatars provides enough data points to provide a statistically robust insight across very complex content mixes and audience segments and geographies. The analytics function scores and ranks observations, pinpointing very precise areas to improve audience engagement and progression, and it quantifies a related sales funnel upside associated with each, helping clients to identify priorities and achieve an accelerated revenue and sales funnel impact.